Hello, this is Christian. In this video, we'll be doing maybe not the edit or delete. We're just going to do the sign guestbook first, okay? So I think that's easier than the edit because once we do a sign, then the edit will be kind of similar. So we finished this last video. In the last video, we did the view to display the data from database, and we added a few records to the database to show this here. So now let's go into the sign guestbook and do that operation. Okay, so back in the code here. And so I'm going to go and add another file. Instead of view, when I Control C, Control V, this would be insert. Okay. Do we call it insert? No, we call it sign up. Yeah, I think we call it sign up in our navigation. So in the sign up file, what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to have a form to display the form. So it would be kind of similar to the show guest. Well, no, not show guest. This would be a show form. Okay, show guestbook form. Okay, and we're gonna pass in the connection. No, we don't have to because it's just gonna be a blank form, right? So show guest form. So let's save that. Let's go to the function and do that first. Okay, so down here, I put on the bottom, and we have a function called show guestbook form. Okay, so then we're gonna close that here, go back out here to PHP, and this is our form here. So what does it look like? So it's gonna be a form, and the form is gonna go to and we're gonna give it a name, and just in case of that, if you have to edit or format it, you need to access the file. So we're gonna have like a name would be guestbook. I'll give an ID too as well, so the same name, so we can access those. So the action, and then we have the method as well. The method will be a post. Okay, we'll put the post for the method. The action is gonna go to the same file, which is the sign up page. Now, usually you can do this like sign up like that, but if you change the file name, they have to come back and change it again, right? Some people will just put a star here, blank, or reload the page, which is okay, but not the best way to do it. The best method to do is to call the server function, okay? The server variable, and that means you do this. So you say equal, and then the server, and then you call this PHP self. Okay, that means it will load itself. So whatever the file is, you don't have any problem with that because it doesn't really so you don't have to worry about the file name because you can change it to whatever file it is, sign up, insert, whatever it is. This will always work, and it's a much preferred way to do it. Okay, so we got that form. Let me just kind of do this, get some room here, and then I'm gonna need a label. The label will be for the name, right? So you can put name like that, and then I'm gonna have a input. The name's gonna be called name as well. The ID will also be called name, just in case if we need to style it using CSS or JavaScript, right? And then I'm gonna have one for the email and message. So I'm gonna wrap this with a div tag so I can style it. Each group its own part. So I'll put here the first one, and they're all gonna be the same. So maybe I'll call it I don't know, guestbook controls maybe. And then those will be similar to the other ones. We're going to copy that, and then the email, and then the message. Okay, and at the very bottom I have my buttons, right? So 4 sets. So here will be the name and then email. So put here email, again, email and email. And then down here will be the comment. I'll copy this, paste right here. Well, actually, it won't be an input. It's going to be a text area. Okay, but the ID will be the same. And then we'll just close the text area. Okay, that would be the text area. And then down here is, we don't need a label for this part. It just will be the two buttons. So what be the type is a submit. The name will be submit. We need that so we can validate in the PHP. And then the value, we can leave it default. We'll just say submit. Another one here, this is for the reset button. And then again, reset if you want to do it, but you don't really need to put anything there. Instead of reset, I'm going to have a different value. I'll just say start over. Okay. And for both of these, I'm going to have let's set a class in here. So I guess btn submit. Let's see if I may or may not use those. btn reset, just in case if I need to reset those. Okay, so that's my form. And then I think that looks good. Yeah, we'll see. So now I need to go to my sign up page, and the writing here show my guestbook, so that's good. Okay, let's go and take a look and see what it looks like in the browser. So refresh, and there it is. It's there. It's just that it's not formatted nicely. So let's go and format that really quick in CSS. So I have my guestbook, a form, and then my guestbook controls and label and so on. Okay, again, this is kind of common, so you should probably already know this. So here I put here the form controls. Okay. So what do we have here? Well, for the forms, we're going to have the guestbook control. Yeah, the guestbook control. That one, again, make it center. So again, margin. I want 20. Get top and bottom, and then the left and right will be auto. So you center that. Okay, and then you see it. Also set a width to make it so that you control everything in a certain width. So maybe like a 500 pixel. Okay, and what that does is if you go to the site, if you refresh it, right, you see that it's now centered. But also if I press F12, if you go over to that control here, you see that it goes all the way across, and you don't want that to be that. Well, I mean the control here, right? So it's the gray box here. You see the gray box here? It only goes that far. If you don't put a width here, you see it's going to go all the way to the screen. You don't want that. You want to minimize it so that you have a certain width and size, and so everything is like very nicely aligned in here. And also I want to align these, make this all that justify, align these here, maybe force a certain width, put this on the top, align that, and then the button make it kind of really big across here. Okay, so that's something kind of typical. So let's go back in here, and then I'm going to go with the label first. Label, it's going to be a display. I want to have it so that it's inline block. And again, I did that because I wanted to set the width. Okay, if you don't use the inline block, you cannot set the width. It won't work. And then the align, I want to make it, I want to force left. Okay, so the label will be a left justified. Now I need to do the input tags, right? So that guess control input. And also for the text area. So text area, so that to be kind of same. I want the font size I'm going to change to make it kind of big, larger, I guess. And the width will be, I'm going to force it to have a certain width. Remember, we have a max of 500 here. So I'm going to go maybe like half of that. Okay. And then the buttons. So let's go with the Guestbook buttons. BT and submit and reset, both of them. They're going to have a font size will be again big, larger. The width will be, I don't know, let's try 50% of this width here, okay? So 50%, half of that. We'll see again what happens. If it's not good, we'll adjust it. Display, I want to be block, so I want to have it on their own line. Force it to be online. And I also want the margin to be 10 left and right, and also auto to make it center, okay? And we'll change the background color to, I guess, gonna go with the orange red, like some of the other one. And then we have a border. I'm just thinking this in my head. I haven't have border 1 px solid black. And then we want to be round, so border radius will be like 4px again. I don't know. Okay, let's take a look. All right, so let's see if I refresh it. Okay, close. And so this, as you can see, is kind of nice already, right? This one here I can resize, of course. If I refresh it again, I want this comment to be in the top. So I want to align the text to be aligned, a text top. And the button I want to be larger than this. It's kind of small. Okay, let's go back and fix that. So I want the guest control area. That's really good. I want the guestbook.text area only. I want that to have an alignment. The vertical alignment, oops. The vertical alignment would be text top. Okay, I want the text go on the top of that. So that's good for that one. Now for the submit and reset button, the width, yeah, it was kind of short. Let's try 70 for that one. Border padding, yeah, let's get some padding, maybe 10. And then notice also when let's go back. When I hover, it didn't do anything, right? Refresh it. Oh, that's good now. So again, when I hover, it not change. I can submit it, but it doesn't do anything because it doesn't. I want to change the cursor type because this is a not button type, right? So these are good. As you can see, it's aligned on top now. And then let's go and put a hover. And when I hover this, I'm going to change the background to a different color and then also have a different text. So let's go back in here again. I'm going to copy this, everything here. But this time I'm going to do a hover. So be hover and hover. When I hover, everything will be the same. Just the background color will change. And so those will be same. Everything here is same. Just the background color will be, I can make it white. I want the cursor to change to be the pointer, the typical hand pointer. And then the color of the text will also be white. Oh, not white. When we hover, yeah, I don't want a white. Maybe we try orange, red, just orange. Yeah, orange, red, orange. Oh, let's try that. Okay, So let's give it a try. Let's go back and do it again. Okay. Yeah, so that's good enough. Right now my cursor is now changed to that hand so I can know it's working. And if I do something here and submit, and there you go, it calls itself, right? So now we just have to do the operation to insert the data. Okay, so we're done here, CSS, sign up. So when I show the form, I click submit. The submit functions renders this, it calls itself, and it goes back up to the top of the page, right? So up here, we are going to do some logic up here. So I'm going to have, let's see, when I add a form, I want to put a message saying, maybe here, please, let's put this message up there, okay? Yeah, let's put a message up here. This is a default message. And then this one here, I'll display the message here. Okay, so display the message instead. I want to modify this message based on the input result. If I have an error, I want to show that message, right? And I only show the form before I submit the form, right? So here, I want to say something like this. I only show the form when the form has not been submitted. So you want to say something like if I should show form. So if like show form that is true, then go ahead and show the form. So that means I need to check a variable called show form. Okay, so up here, I'll create a variable called show form, and I'll set that to true by default, right? So if I save this, again, if I go back to the browser, everything should be the same, okay? So if I click that, and nothing changes. Okay, this is now controlled by a variable. And so let's go back. And so now we got that done. And then we just need to check for the post, right? So if the post is set for the submit, that's why we put the name of the submit button, then go ahead and process this information. So I'm going to get the information from the data, right? So I'm going to get the name from the post. I'm going to duplicate that. The email and message. Need those as well. And this will be the comment. Okay, so I got that. And one way you can do is when you pass this over to, so actually I didn't have to do this, right? This whole part is redundant. Okay, I didn't have to do this. And because I'm going to pass this over to my function to insert the data. And if you remember my function over here, when I insert one record, I need the handle, the ID. Well, actually, I don't need ID. When I insert, yeah, I don't need ID. I just need the table and the data. So here I put here data, right? So whatever data is, I don't want to pass every individual data here. I want to pass a list of data. So you can use like an array, like the associative array or an object. For this case, I'll put an array here, right? So that means in my sign up sheet form, I'm going to put this into an array. And of course, you can just say something like data is equal to array, you know, like this name, double arrow, name, and so on, right? So you can get the name, email, comment, and so on. But in this case, you don't have to do it because the post is already that array. So therefore, I don't have to do this. Okay, so I'll show you the shortcut. An easier way to do, just say, I'm going to do a insert. I'm going to call the insert function, insert one record. I'm going to pass in the handle, which is in this case will be the connection. And then I'm going to pass in the table. It says table. So the table will be just table, yes. And then the data will be the post. The entire post. Okay, object. So all these, I don't need it. I'm going to pass that post to the insert record. So go over here, when I insert, let's implement this insert function. Okay, let's go down here. Then I'm going to do a query. So I can get my data down here. So I can say now name equals to the data of name, right? That's coming from the post. It's the same thing. So let's do that here. And then email. I should have just copied from there. And then email, and then the comment. Okay, I'm just putting a variable so it's easier to do this way. Otherwise, you could access directly from the query as well, right? So in your query, what do? We're going to insert. So we can say query is equal to insert into the table called table, right? And values are, and then here are your values. Make sure you put in single quote for all of them. So we have three sets, actually 4 sets, right? The first one is null, so you can just put null here. ID is controlled by the SQL server, MySQL server. And then this would be the name, and then followed by the email, and then finally the comment. Okay, that's the query. And then again, you're going to return the make query. You pass in the handle and then the query. Okay. And then I think that's it. So you return that query back to the sign up, and we're going to assign that to a result, right? Usually you would do something like that, and then you check the result if it's successful or not. So I can say if it's successful, then go ahead and do something, and if not, I'll do something. So again, back to the try catch. So I'm going to wrap this with a try catch. So put this inside the try catch, and then if there's an error, catch it. Exception E, and put here the message will be equal to that E of get message. Okay, whatever the message is. So up here in the try catch, try block, you can do this, and then you can test if result like that. Okay, that's fine. Or you could just basically put this inside here like this. Okay, like that. That's fine too. And I'll just do it this way for now. So because this function returns a result set, a result if it's true or false, right? If it's successful, then you can say the message here will be assigned to a message called thank you for signing our awesome guest book. And then we can set the show form to be false now. So we don't want to show the form again. Okay. Otherwise, it's an error. So again, you throw an error. Throw a new exception. Just say something like, sorry, something went wrong, unable to sign. And that will be passed over to the get message and will be displayed down here instead. And then because it's false, it's true, it's not going to be shown. It will show the message or something. Okay, so let's save that and see what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to reset my guestbook here. If I submit, it will work because I did not validate. So usually if it's all blank, you don't want to set the validation. You don't want to submit, right? As you can see, it works fine because we didn't validate that. And we have a blank user information down here. Okay, so if I go do it again, if I do, for example, here, Clark Kent, CK at earth.com, and hi Earth, and then submit. Okay, you see that now it's down here. All right, so far so good. So that's how you would do the ad for the sign up for the guestbook. in the next video, we'll be doing the edit and the delete, and then we'll pretty much done with this part.